morning. Welcome back to Act Locally Live. I am Elizabeth Riley here with Act Locally Waco. It is Thursday, August 28th, 7:30 in the morning. Welcome back. Today is Throwback Thursday, where I'm going to be sharing stories from Waco's eventful history, totally rehashing the past. We're going to be talking about recognizable sites, honorable names, and forgotten stories. Who, what, where, when, and why Waco came to be. But first, take a look at this beautiful, stunning artwork behind me. Have to shout it out. We have some pieces over here from Debbie Miller of Corsicana. You can find her on Instagram at Debbie Rose Miller, or you can find her website at debbiemillerstudio.com. These are absolutely gorgeous, stunning. Over this shoulder here, we have works from Russell Campbell, straight out of Waco. You can find him on Instagram at Russ Tone Art. And all of these pieces behind me, including the other ones that you've seen up and about, are for sale. So if you're interested, you can either message us at Act Locally Waco, or you can go contact these artists directly. They are so stunning and gorgeous. You definitely want these in your own house. Okay? Just yes. So we are live this morning from the Alico building, which is the story that I had the opportunity to share with you last Throwback Thursday. So now it's quiz time. No, I'm just kidding, actually. That'll be at the start of the month, so be prepared for that. Last week, I got to harp on this building and just how sick it is, and Waco's petty resilience, and in the battle of the original build and the reconstruction after the tornado of 1953, and just the absolute immaculate view of the city from this high up. But while this building has been a cornerstone in our story here in Waco, our city tends to get a really bad rap from outsiders. Whenever I mention that I live in Waco, there's like one of three things that I tend to get. First being, oh my goodness, have you been to Magnolia? Do you know Chip and Joanna Gaines? Like, personally, no. But they're everywhere. It's kind of hard to avoid Magnolia at this point. It's infested the city, okay? Second thing you get, oh, that's where the ATF raided that one cult, right? Yeah. And the Branch Davidians are actually still alive and well, so do what you will with that. But not you, ATF. You stay out of it this time, please. And lastly, if they're a sports fan, you just get, oh, Baylor. Yes, okay. This city is much more than a campus population that is unappreciative of the area, okay? Waco is much bigger than Baylor. So, something that I didn't know as a transplant myself when I came to Waco was the explosion that had happened in West. And that was only a story that I heard maybe 2-3 years after living here. It was never talked about like between students or professors. And it was really only mentioned by like long time native Wacoans that I just met out in the community. What you will typically hear residents refer to the city of West as West, Texas, to avoid any kind of confusion with the region of West Texas, which I think is really cute. But referring to the explosion, I didn't even know the full story. I just heard bits and pieces of it. And whenever I was asking questions to multiple different people, I felt like I couldn't be given a direct answer. Like when it came to the plot of events or like the narrative that happened afterwards. And apparently it was still super heavily disputed. So I was like, you know what? I'm not going to be taking anybody else's word for it. Let's do some research. So I first needed to get familiar with West, Texas. Now, West, Texas is a city in northern McLennan County. It's just north of Waco. It was founded and settled around 1840s. And it was named after Thomas West, who made his way to McLennan County in 1859, and he became the first postmaster of the city. After settling in McLennan County during the mid-1800s, ranch families came in, cultivated the land. They grew cotton, wheat, and grain, and cattle ranching was obviously a huge commercial industry. We have the Chisholm Trail that runs right up Waco, and it was the main reason for the suspension bridge being built here to cross the Brazos because it was flooding all the time, you know. The railroad was laid between Hillsboro and Waco in the fall of 1881. So you have people moving here 1840s, Thomas West settling here, 1859. Train finally comes in, 1881. And this train line was built straight through Thomas West's land. So on his plot, they built a new train depot, a new train station, and inside of those was the post office. And since Mr. West was the postmaster, the area became known as West's Station, later West Station, and finally its current name, just West. Mr. West was an absolute businessman. Not only was he the postmaster, but he opened up a general store. He owned a hotel. He operated a furniture store and bank. Like, he was making sure that nobody else was going to be named at this city. Like, this was his. Okay. So finally, Czech immigrants came to the area to start a fresh life in the New World around the late 1800s. So by the 1890s, Czech businesses were flourishing in West, which shout outs where my family's from. On June 11th, 1892, West was officially organized into a town. There were cotton gins, grocery stores, churches, schools, doctors' offices, absolutely anything and everything that you could think of. It was in this town. Today, many of the descendants of the original Czech settlers still continue to farm those same lands and run those same businesses. And you can hear Czech spoken by many of the older residents, which is still really cool. So that's a little bit of context, a little bit of history about West for you. And when we get back, I'm actually going to tell you about a little quick story before we get into the explosion. Here's a break.
Everyone is born with different gifts and skills. Everyone is unique and has something that only they can offer this world. And everyone has different needs that help them accomplish their day-to-day goals and challenges. But there's one thing that everyone needs, no matter who they are. Breathe cleaner. Puro Air.
Every dog deserves a second chance in a loving home. And you brew Grounds and Hounds, you're helping to fund that second chance for a rescue pup in need. They'll brew a second cup, and let's change the world for every pup. One cup at a time. Visit us at groundsandhoundscoffee.com.
With over 50 years in the industry, Arriva Hospitality Group has been delighting guests with unforgettable experiences across Mexico. Our investors enjoy trust and impressive returns, while our guests, whether on vacation or business, keep coming back for more fun and memories. At Arriva Hospitality Group, we are looking for investors who share our dream of making people happy while our investments grow. Take a closer look at arrivahotels.mx.
I just got my Colgate Advanced LED Whitening Treatment in the mail, and I am very excited to have dramatically whiter teeth in just 10 days. My teeth are going to be 6 shades whiter. The treatment is enamel safe and hassle-free. It's even designed for my sensitive teeth. Let's open it up. Inside we have the blue light whitening device. It's a charger for after each treatment as well. There's a full 10-day supply, and it looks easy to apply. Order yours today at shop.colgate.com.
Welcome back to Act Locally Live. I'm your host, Elizabeth Riley, and today we are talking about the city of West, Texas, and some big events that happened there throughout its history. So when I was doing my research for the West explosion, I also came across the story of the Crash at Crush, which happened in Crush, just 3 miles south of West. In 1896, General passenger agent for the rail line, William Crush, conceived what he thought was a brilliant idea to demonstrate a staged train wreck for a public spectacle. What the hell is up with men just blowing shit up for fun? This is never a good idea. No admission was charged, and train fares to the crash site were offered at a reduced rate. So people got their tickets for sale, and they could see this for free. As a result of those two deals, an estimated 40,000 people showed up to the Crash at Crush. To put that into perspective, there were more people in West Texas to see a train crash than people who lived in the second largest city in Texas at the time. But around 4 p.m., 2 trains were sent speeding towards each other on the tracks and collided head-on. Upon impact, the steam boilers exploded and propelling pieces of metal just flew into the crowd. 2 people were killed and many others were injured. I'm no private investigator, but this seems like it was an entirely preventable event, and I want to know just who approved this. Okay? The entire situation of that, the preventability of it, could also be said for our main topic today. But I'll give you all the information, we'll digest it, and then we'll kind of come up with some of our own conclusions here. So, the West Fertilizer Company was founded in 1962, so long after Settlement of West, long after the crash at Crush. It was built as a storage, retail, and distribution facility for farming chemicals for fertilizer. They sold and stored various compounds like ammonium nitrate, anhydrous ammonia, and K-Mag, which is a mixture of potassium, magnesium, and sulfur. The company, West Fertilizer Company, had been supplying farmers with chemicals for 51 years before April 17th, 2013, when a fire broke out at the facility, causing an explosion that absolutely rocked Central Texas. The compound that was the culprit in this explosion was called ammonium nitrate. It was the largest product that they stored in bins across the fertilizer plant. And like I said, it was the main causative agent in this explosion. So it's typically stable. Ammonium nitrate is typically stable just in its natural form, and it can be predominantly used in agriculture as a high nitrogen fertilizer. But it is also a component of explosive mixing for mining, quarrying, and civil construction. What? Also, speaking of all the bad rap that Waco gets, it is the same material that Timothy McVeigh used in the Oklahoma City bombing, and he bombed this building for a way of avenging David Koresh and the Branch Davidians. So it's very weird. Everything is kind of full circle connected. Anywho. Since the West Fertilizer Company was dealing with a ton of dangerous materials, they were subjected to inspections from one of our favorite organizations, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration. Hey, OSHA. The last time that they had filed for an inspection came in 1985, and OSHA cited them and fined them for improper storage of anhydrous ammonia. They were also cited for respiratory protection standards, but they were never fined for that issue. With all of those issues addressed, OSHA officials found that the facility was not on their national emphasis plan for chemical plant inspections. And so they were labeled as a retail facility, and they had no records of major accidents. So they were no longer, having to keep frequent check-ins. And also the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, agreed with this, saying, not a major risk. We don't need to put them on the emphasis plan. In 2006, there was a complaint of an ammonia smell coming from the facility. So the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality investigated and cited the owners for not having permits for 2 anhydrous ammonia tanks. The EPA also fined owners and operators for $2,300 for not filing a risk management program in a timely manner. So they didn't file to report this smell. They got charged for failing to report the problem and for the problem. Okay, makes sense. Law enforcement recommended that West Fertilizer Company install a surveillance system, including a fenced perimeter. Wow, that feels like groundbreaking technology, security cameras, and alarms after the plant was burglarized multiple times in 2006, presumably by people wanting to use the anhydrous ammonia to make methamphetamines. And the EPA came back in 2011 with an emergency planning report claiming that the ammonia storage tanks did not, cause any other risk. So yet again, they're in the clear. They got cleared 2, 3, multiple different times. In 2012, the U.S. Department of Transportation's Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration, long name, can we cut some of that out, please, fined the facility $5,250 for violations regarding anhydrous ammonia storage again. Okay, we need to fix the problem. By this time, late 2012, the West Fertilizer Company was storing 240 tons of ammonium nitrate and 50 tons of anhydrous ammonia on site. They were fined numerous times, and nothing was ever done about any of those. Mind you, this is a 2-story wood frame building that was fully flammable, and it was storing seeds and other fertilizers with extremely explosive materials. Okay, that's a lot of the background for the West Fertilizer Company here. And when we get back, I'm going to be telling you about the story of the explosion and the fallout that occurred afterwards. I'll see you after this.
When you view the glass half full, the little things become magical. Like kicking back and sharing laughs, spread good vibes, and they'll come back. Celebrate what you love with what you wear, even if what you love is kind of weird. Life is good in super soft tees that spark smiles and connectivity. 10% of profits go to help kids heal. So choose optimism and make the magic real. Visit lifeisgood.com.
What I love most about playing basketball is the competition. I really just like being shifty, mastering hesitation moves, changing direction, building chemistry with new teammates. If you're not having fun while you're playing, there's no point in playing the game. You know what to do. Escape Basic. Pair of Thieves quick dry underwear. It wicks away sweat and helps keep you dry. You looking forward to fishing season?
Let's unbox the all-new Walking Pad X21. It is the hottest thing on the fitness market right now. Whew. I like it. I like it a lot. Well done, Walking Pad. So after using the Walking Pad, I absolutely loved it. For the price, I adore it. I highly recommend it.
I've gotten a lot of questions as to where people can find the best supplements.
And that's why we have the Swell Score, because we have created this platform where our team of researchers and doctors have come together to bring top-notch quality supplements and information.
We make sure that if we are recommending a product, that it hasn't been reviewed by the same company that is producing that product.
Now we have a resource that we can do that.
Welcome back. I'm Elizabeth Riley. Today is Throwback Thursday, and we are going over the history of West Comma, Texas, and the unfortunate explosion that happened April 17th, 2013. So, the fire at the West Fertilizer Company was spotted by a random civilian who flagged down an officer who was on patrol near the park around 7:30 p.m. The volunteer fire department of West was called in, and they immediately responded to begin fighting fire. However, like I said, the West Fertilizer Company was built in a highly combustible building, and it was made fully from like a wood frame structure. So when it caught fire, there was almost nothing that they could have done to stop it. The fire escalated quickly, with soot and ash just piling on top of all of these hazardous materials. So around 7:45, the fire burned through the doors of the side of the plant, allowing for more oxygen, outside oxygen, to come inside and just continue fueling this fire. That is when, 6 minutes later, 7:51, the entire plant exploded. The force of the explosion was equivalent to 10 tons of TNT going off. and it obliterated the plant and absolutely anything in the path of the shockwave. It's been said that the blast left a 10-foot deep crater at ground zero, and windows were reportedly blown out in Abbott, Texas, which is 7 miles away from West. It caused the ground to shake so forcibly that there was an earthquake recorded with a 2.5 magnitude in central Texas. It destroyed more than 100 homes and businesses. It damaged West Middle School and high school, and it even affected nearby senior assisted living facilities that needed to be evacuated. There, after the explosion, homes were literally moved off of their foundations, and gas leaks from the destruction were causing small house fires in the area, which made all of these people forced away from their homes. They were forced to evacuate. Over 100 different people were reported to be injured in the blast, and they were all originally transported to West High School's football field for a makeshift triage, but they were eventually moved to the community center because the football field was still in proximity to the burning building. On April 19th, authorities announced that 12 bodies had been recovered, 60 people were missing, and at least 200 people had been injured. The 12 dead included 10 first responders as well as 2 civilians who had volunteered to fight the fire when it first began. The final confirmed death toll was 15 fatalities, and approximately 160 to 200 people were injured. The Chemical Safety and Hazard Investigation Board was unable to determine how the fire started or where it started, but it is presumed that the fire started high up in the building because it's a 2-story wood frame. The Chemical Safety Board announced that this was a fully preventable incident and it would have never occurred with the necessary steps from federal, state, and local regulatory agencies. However, just a few months after the Chemical Safety Board made that announcement, the ATF came back round. What did I say? Can y'all not stay out of anything? They came back and concluded that the fire that led to the explosion was intentionally set, but they declined to comment about any possible suspects. They posted an award, but no arrests were ever made. Still, to this day. This statement from the ATF was disputed by various other experts who noted that the ATF's findings was based on primarily their inability to find any other cause for the fire. They were just like, yeah, it had to have been set. Some people complained because it delayed victims' lawsuits against the fertilizer company. It gave defendants more legal ammunition, and it promoted the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency to put a hold on new chemical plant safety rules. Unfortunate. The Waco-McLennan County Public Health District, in collaboration with the Texas Department of State Health Services, carried out and did a full epidemiological study to describe the physical injuries related to the incident, and there is a published report and scientific manuscripts that you can actually go read on that. But after all of this, there were tons of reforms put in place to make sure that nothing like this, or to the scale, to this disastrous, would ever happen again. So ammonium nitrate, which was the causative agent in the explosion, was reclassified and specialized as a specialized substance with appropriate warnings, which had not ever happened before. So in response to this, first responders and volunteer firefighting programs started introducing training on how to deal with explosive materials, which is just absolutely necessary in their work. There's also still a ton of debris all over West from this incident, and it's still highly debated. After reading all of this and sitting on it, thinking about it, while I understand the need to place a blame so that we can feel better, as that's just, humans, we are also insanely complex and complicated. And I think that we tend to project those feelings onto any other event. And while we want some narrative, some story, some big explanation for it, because that's how we are, that's who we are, I think things tend to be a little bit more simple than we want them to be. So perhaps it really was just an old building, faulty wiring, an accidental fire. But I think it is really unfair to cause so much fear in people. Like, is this going to happen again? Do we have an arsonist running around trying to hurt people. But I think I'm going to stick with the idea, not being conspiratorial, that this was purely an accident, and it's absolutely devastating. And I cannot even imagine having lived in Waco, and I'm honestly shocked that this isn't something that is still talked about as frequently as it should be. But I think it's much simpler than we want it to be. Well, if you haven't gotten enough of me this morning or this week, you can follow me over to the Zach Owens Show, where I will be live from the backyard bar, stage, and grill every single morning. And I will also be bringing you Music City News and Act Locally Waco segments from there. If you haven't heard enough about the Crash at Crush, you can also head over to the Ann Harder Show, which is where I'm also featured. She will be talking about that today at noon. You can find us on our Instagram at Locally Waco or our website, actlocallywaco.org. If you're sick and tired of my voice, I would totally recommend you go and read some of my work on the Act Locally Waco blog, which is probably much more informative and coherent than this early morning rambling. But double check and let me know. You tell me what you think. Act Locally Waco puts out a weekly newsletter known as the Whole Enchilada. So that gives you a list of events that is happening in our community and much more commentary from yours truly. Subscribe, read up, go do our things that I've told you about. Catch me in the community and come say hi. I will see you all tomorrow morning. Bye, y'all.